Hello and welcome to Character Values, Self-Knowledge, and Empathy. We will be looking at the character trait of empathy, what it means to be self-reflective, how we might see this in everyday life, and how we can use those teachable moments in our classrooms to inspire our students to see themselves through the lens of another person.
As with many topics, there are many interpretations of self-knowledge and empathy. But if we consider that self-knowledge refers to the knowledge of one's particular mental states, and empathy is considered the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes, then what is the relationship between the two? Empathy is built around self-knowledge. How can you understand the emotional content of another person if there is not self-understanding? There is no emotional intelligence if there is no self-knowledge.
Key concepts when discussing empathy that will likely surface is the concept of perspective, looking at something from someone else's perspective, and assuming a role from another's viewpoint. Deeper awareness would involve how we sometimes disassociate ourselves morally from responsibilities as ways to avoid feeling empathetic because it feels safe. This is seen when someone's indifference to another's suffering occurs. Everyday examples might include such statements as, well, they knew a hurricane was coming. What did they expect would happen? Or in situations of date rape, why was she wearing that or drinking so much? Understanding these principles and how we look to defend ourselves is a true key concept in self awareness and empathy.
So how do we go about teaching self-awareness and empathy to our students? One program is called Roots of Empathy. It is an evidence-based classroom program that has shown significant effect in reducing levels of aggression among school children by raising social emotional competence and increasing empathy. At the heart of the program are a neighborhood infant and parent who visit the classroom every 3 weeks over the school year. A trained Roots of Empathy instructor coaches students to observe the baby's development and to label the baby's feelings. Through this experience, the instructor helps children identify and reflect on their own feelings and the feelings of others.
The television series What Would You Do showcases hidden cameras and paid actors to behave in a certain way and then note how unsuspecting people will react to these moral dilemmas. This is a great tool for fostering class discussion and bringing the concept of self awareness to a very relatable situation.
Other ideas for teaching these concepts include things like teaching self-regulation techniques, using role-playing scenarios, reflection and discussion around literature, and reflective writing activities. Throughout history, there have been amazing people who have stood out as proponents for self-awareness and empathy. One of these people is Socrates. Although there are no writings from Socrates himself, Plato related the words, "The unexamined life is not worth living," as being said by Socrates. Another proponent of self-awareness and empathy is Mahatma Gandhi. His teachings continue to inspire people even now, 60 years after his death. He spent his life in search of truth and is known for his encouragement of change through nonviolent means. Another person who represents empathy is Mother Teresa. She became known worldwide when she received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979. She was known for her joy of loving and for valuing the greatness and dignity of every human person.
Much of the success of Oprah Winfrey and her media empire is that she inspires us to be empathetic. Her guests have been movie stars and politicians, but also families addicted to heroin, transgender teenagers, victims of abuse, as well as those who abuse. She has used her platform to expose the everyday person to lives of people and their journeys. We get to see a different viewpoint of someone we may otherwise never consider.
The idea of self-awareness and empathy makes for great character development in both literature and movies. For example, in Pride and Prejudice, Elizabeth Bennet is a lovely and clever young lady who believes that she is a discerning judge of character. The story follows her journey to realizing that she has a tendency to be critical and make hasty judgments without solid foundation. Of course, in the end, she learns about herself and finds love. Les Miserables was originally written as a novel, but has since been made into various musicals and movies. The main character, Jean Valjean, goes through a transformation as he learns that he can no longer live the safe life under an assumed name, but must come clean and be true to himself.
The very famous character of Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird, both the book and the movie version, is known for his wise dialogue and empathetic nature, and at the time of racial injustices in the American South, this was not common. Atticus encourages his daughter Scout to climb in someone else's skin, and is credited with the now infamous phrase, to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. The critically acclaimed movie Schindler's List tells the story of a former Nazi Party member who used his connections and business skills to shelter and save Jews that were slated for extermination. He employed them in his factories, paid off SS officers, and was somewhat of a double agent, spending his own fortune to save more than 1,000 Jews. Those that were fortunate enough to come under his protection made the list known as Schindler's List.
Although the term empathy was only introduced relatively recently into the English language, its roots go back much further. Included in the understanding of the term has always been the idea of knowing about how another person thinks or feels in a situation. Add to that the established thinking that in order to understand others, one must first be able to really understand oneself. That relates empathy directly to self-knowledge, which has been the focus of many great philosophers through history. The most recent research in this area indicates that the essence of empathy may be a perception of the other as fundamentally similar to oneself. And it seems that we respond with concern when we feel a sense of identity with the other. So we basically react to the idea of ourselves in that same situation. So, what is the purpose in trying to teach children self-knowledge and empathy? What happens in a society where these values are lacking? Why does it matter?
It has been said that evil flourishes when good men do nothing. The value of empathy and self-awareness is central to a civilized world. Classrooms should seek to inform students of world events, but also of their own personal identities and their place in that world.
Who am I? Who am I? I'm Jean Valjean.